Let me tell a small incident from my own life. I had a great opportunity of seeing one of the Ramana Maharshi's disciple, Annamalai Swamigal. At the age of 10, I was taken to him by my pre-monastic family. He was talking to a group of people. He was telling them, we are not the body, we are Atman. No way we are disturbed by pains and sufferings. When I heard these great words, I felt little surprised. He says we don't get pain. We are not afflicted by suffering. But when mom beats, I feel pain. How he says we don't have pain? I went back to the house, but the memory was there. What did he say? What is the truth? I took a knife and cut my thighs to see whether we have pain or not. Still now the mark is there. There was a deep wound. Of course, I had a pain and I was immediately taken to the hospital. They did all the first aid, everything. After 3 days, I went back to that Swami and asked him, what is this? You told we don't have pain, but I went and tested it on myself. You see, the Arjuna is an intelligent guy. When Krishna said, Nainam Chindandi Sastrani Nainam Tagadi Bhavataha. The Atman is never killed, Atman is never burnt, Atman is never disturbed. Arjuna tested it on somebody else, not on himself. But I was a fool to test it on myself. I asked him, why did you teach that? I went and tested it on myself and I had a pain. What is the truth behind it? The Swami said, yes, my son, what you have done is not wrong. Don't worry about it. The idea, searching, the truth, the questioning sense, or experimenting, trying to experiment with the words is perfectly right attitude. You understood in a wrong way. Don't worry about that. Now, do the small meditation technique. Do the small meditation. Then you will understand the truth behind my words. He told me to start search from where your thoughts are coming. He told me, whenever you are free, just sit and see from where your thoughts are originating. From where your thoughts are coming. Who am I? The same technique, he gave it in a different way. Of course, I was not happy or I was not convinced by this answer because I did not know anything about meditation. I was just a 10-year-old boy. But I felt something, let me at least try. Whenever I used to find time, I'll sit and play with this technique. I can't even say I used to meditate. I used to just play with this technique. That is a technique. Finally, ultimately, gave me the first glimpse of the inner self or the inner experience. Only one day suddenly, on a Buddha Purnima, maybe I was 12. When I was trying to sit and trace the root of the thoughts, or trace from where my being is racing, or who am I, suddenly something opened, something broke in my being that gave me the first glimpse of the higher consciousness. Then really I understood that we are something beyond body. We are pure awareness. We are the experience, not the experiencer or the experienced. The experiencer and the experienced, both identifications are just instinct and intellectual. If you say you are experienced, it's an instinct. If you say you are experiencer, it is intellectual. When you experience, you are nothing but experience. It's an experience. Your being is nothing but experience. When you experience, you are nothing but experience. That is the only experience which is to be experienced. This question, who am I? Very simple, basic question, but can lead you to the ultimate, final, not only the answer to the experience itself. The question, who am I, will not solve your question, it will dissolve your questioning mind itself. The who am I, it will start as a question, but it will become quest and lead you to the space where questions no more raise. The very questioning mind disappears. So, let you take this question sincerely. Let it become question you. Let your urge become urgent. Let you reach the space of eternal bliss and experience it. Let you experience the eternal bliss, Nityananda. Thank you. If you want, you can have a few minutes. Any questions you have? I'll try to answer your questions or question your answers. Then we'll depart. Yes. What is real? What is real? This question is really beautiful. The modern day psychologists, they say, we see only 2% of what is happening around us. If 100 things are happening around us, we see only 2 things. Only 2 things are recorded in our system. It's like understand, you read a novel which is 100 pages, and random you get 2 pages in your hand, the other 98 pages lost. You go back to your house and try to reconstruct the whole novel based on these 2 pages. How much the 2-page novel will be true to the original novel? No. It can no way relate with it. Same way, 100 things are happening around us, but you record only 2 things in your mind. Based on the 2 things, you come to a decision about the reality. The 2 things you record only which you wanted, never what is happening. We record only what we want, not what is happening. That is why once you decide your wife is a fool, she always looks fool. Once you decide your husband is controlling you, whatever he says, looks like controlling. Once you decide some idea about person, see, before deciding about him, you collect the arguments and pass judgment. Once you create an idea about him, you pass judgment, then collect arguments to support the judgment. 2 ways of life. Collecting arguments and giving judgment. Passing judgment, collecting arguments to support the judgment. Most of the time, we come to an idea about the person before arguments. Then we support our arguments to support our judgment. Most of the time, you don't record what is, you record what you want. That's what Vedanta they say. Drishti Srishti. 2 kinds of things. Srishti Drishti and Drishti Srishti. Means, in one way you see what is, in the other way you see what you want to see. Most of us, we see only what we want to see. Because we see what we want to see, we forget what is real. The reality exists continuously, always, but we only don't see it. There's a beautiful sloka, Isha Vashyam Itam Sarvam, the first Upanishad sloka. Whatever exists is God. And Einstein acknowledges it. Albert Einstein says, after the long research of science, and after giving hundreds and hundreds of lives into the scientific research, we come to the same conclusion which is declared 5,000 years ago by Indian mystics. They come to the same conclusion, whatever exists is energy. The last statement of physics is the first statement of Upanishads. Where science ends, their rishis start. Where science ends, their mystics start. Whatever exists is divine. The reality is there always. But only we have our own judgments. We have our own words. We have our own prejudices. We have our own ideas which stops us seeing the reality. You asked a beautiful question. What is real? What is real? Whatever is real. Whatever you see is not real. There is nothing to be done in the eastness. There is something to be done. The person who sees. When you feel ease with easiness, you see the reality. When you are diseased with easiness, you are in disease. That is what we call samsara roga. The disease of samsara. When you are diseased with ease, ease means the tatata, which is there. If you are ease with easiness, you see the reality. When you are diseased with the easiness, you are in the disease, the samsara roga. Start seeing without judgment, without prejudice, you will see the reality. Say it's a ability, you blame your future. If I say it's a samskara, you think, oh, in my past I never created samskara, the meditation is not going to happen for me, that is not for me. You postpone. If I say it's going to come by practice, you think, oh, in my future how can I practice? In my routine how can I practice? That all is not for me. The Swami spoke well, it's okay. Let us go and do our routine. You postpone it. The idea samskara, the idea practice, both are beautiful techniques to drop the meditation, to postpone the meditation. According to me, it is just conscious decision. If you want, you can. That's all. Somebody asked Bhagavan, Raman Maharshi, Bhagavan, I want peace. Bhagavan said, oh, that's nice. Drop the I and want. You will have peace. I want peace. Drop the I and want. You will have peace. You see, it is we, you create the I and want. It is your conscious decision to meditate. When you decide consciously, simply meditation happens to you. There is a traditional folk song in Tamil, oh, very difficult to be a devotee, oh Shiva for you. It's a song addressing Shiva. It's very difficult to be a devotee for you. It's very difficult to be surrender to you. Raman Maharshi heard this song and he started singing. No. Oh, so easy. The Atma Vidya, enlightenment, is so easy. His disciples asked him, how do you say the Atma Vidya is so easy? How do you say meditation is so easy? How do you say enlightenment is so easy? It's such a difficult thing we are experiencing. Bhagavan says, the idea it is difficult is the only difficulty. Because again the idea difficult is one more thought. The idea it is difficult is the only difficulty. Otherwise, it neither needs samskara nor needs practice. It is just a conscious decision. Nothing more is necessary.
How do you meditate?
There are hundreds of techniques. Take up some one technique. Even the question, when you deeply ask your being, not just verbally, deeply with full emotion, who am I, can lead you to enlightenment. Even that is one of the meditation technique. Feel from where the thoughts are originating. Feel from where the I being is coming out. So now, it's my time to end. Thank you all for coming and being here. My love and respects to you all.